because I realized, post high school and then post college, um, I guess realize there's a lot of things going on in other people's lives that a lot of people just maybe just not aware of. Like
Yeah.
I had a buddy who, I mean, he went dark like after college, and then I was talking to him just out of the blue, probably back in like late 2022. He's like, yeah, he's like, I went to New York. I became like an analyst, like Wall Street. And I was like, what? I'm like, he was always extremely smart at my college. And I'm like, how'd you get that? He's like, well, I had to get an analyst role here in California to build up experience.
Right.
Then he had a buddy who worked in New York who helped him get in. And I said, so you've been at this, job for how long? He's like, about a year now. I said, is this something you want to stick with? He's like, no, I'm moving back to California.
Oh
It was
wow.
just way too cutthroat for him. Smart guy, but he said, he's like, I'd rather just come back to California where the weather is nicer.
Hmm.
Taxes are really not too much different, but
Yeah.
pretty much his home base is here. He's like, I can do a lot better in California and not like, drain my mental and physical health completely. So I was like, wow,
Right.
that's crazy.
I mean,
So
away from family. Yeah. No, that area is. You got to get used to the weather. I used to live in the East Coast, in Massachusetts. So I lived there for 5 years, and yeah, this time of the year, especially. I mean, you start seeing like the trees start losing color and everything. It gets cold. Let's just say that it gets cold over there.
I couldn't imagine. I mean, I've been living here my whole life, and then even I have cousins who live on Long Island in New York, and they're
Mm.
like, yeah, we've had like maybe 7 inches of rain in just like the last 2 days, and then near the JFK airport, it's completely like flooded where cars are like up to the tires, all full
Yeah,
of water.
I saw videos of that. I mean, the last week almost, right? End of last week, and I have never never seen New York that you know up to people's knees almost. There's a lot of water there.
Yeah, and especially like being right near the coast, I couldn't imagine. I think they're gonna get a lot more rain, but that's really gonna, jeopardize a lot of the real estate there. So
Yeah.
I
Boy,
wouldn't live there.
those companies, real estate companies, they're gonna be finding a way not to pay.
Yeah, they're gonna be going somewhere else.
Yeah.
So do you prefer like Aman or do you prefer like I don't want to mispronounce your name.
Yeah, it's Amandeep, or you could say Aman. That's fine. I mean, people call me D, just the letter D. That's totally fine too.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Oh man. So seems like since we both graduated the same year of high school, which is actually pretty cool. Did you went to college after high school or
Yeah, I went to college. I went to locally Cal State LA. I don't know, certainly which city that you moved to after college, high school, but yeah, it was very local. I used to work here in a restaurant. It was like similar. My sister's side of the family owned that restaurant in a grocery store, so I worked here in San Gabriel, literally a mile away from my home, and the, the bus would literally stop me right in front of where the store was. So I could get off there and go to work. And then I used to work in college too. But yeah, after high school, from 2016, end of 2016, all the way to 2020, Cal State LA, got it done, 4 years. Yeah. I didn't even go to my graduation, a funny fact. I
really?
just,
Oh, you and I both.
yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
go to my,
Yeah, that was an interesting year. I remember 2020, like beginning of 2020, basically our school went down like on shutdown and a lot of
right,
people moved out. I pushed it maybe until March and I said, yeah, I got to move out because I'm just fed up
mm,
with it.
right.
But I'm trying to think like how do you like work from home? Because I get distracted fairly easily.
Hmm.
But like you said, I didn't even go to my graduation either. I actually went out to the poppy fields that same weekend to like
Oh,
take
wow.
graduation photos, and there
Okay.
must have been 1,000 people out there. It's in Lancaster,
Lancaster, right.
yeah, and like 1,000 people out there. So you're just trying to find a spot where like the background doesn't have a person in it. We're like trying to figure this out. My buddy's like, hey, you could just like edit people out of the photo. I said, oh, that's a thing. He goes like, oh yeah. I said, okay, cool. So we're editing like 6 different people out of the photo. I said, how do
Wow.
you do that? He goes, oh yeah, it's editing technology nowadays, like
Right.
Photoshop. I said, that's cool. But what did you study in college?
In college, mine was in communications. I don't know, even going at work, I started working ever since my end of sophomore year, junior year. I worked all junior year and senior year in high school on the weekends. So I was communicating with people a lot. I was like, why don't I just choose that as a major? I'm pretty good with it, and it's found to be very easy too. I was like, okay, I just want my degree. I want to get out of here. You know, a lot of people get stuck in college for like 6 years and they don't complete it. So that was the goal, and finance came a little later in my life ever since COVID. That really brought the market down. That got me interested. I like, you know, I was listening to Jim Rohn. I don't know if you ever heard of the guy. He was a motivational speaker back in the day, and he said hard times always bring opportunity, and they're mixed with difficulty. Opportunities always mixed with difficulty. So me connecting two and two was like, hey, why don't I start investing in the market? It's down, and possibly 10 years it'll probably go up, but it rebounded too fast. But so that's how I really got into finance after college, and that's what I went to school for. So it kind of like a complete shift in terms of what I went to college for, but what I actually ended up doing for work. So that's mine. And I don't know if you went to college for finance or how was that?
Yeah, so I went originally for like business because I think when in doubt, just go with business. And
Right.
it took me a while to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. And I've, the counselors at college, like, yeah, what do you want to do? I said, I have no idea. I originally
Mm,
thought like maybe finance or econ, and I found it to be like extremely just, difficult
right.
because like that required higher levels of math. Like I never took calculus in high school. First time I took calc was in I think sophomore year of college, and I struggled. I just
Right.
couldn't grasp like the concepts. And then a
Gotcha.
year after that, it's funny, the calculus just started to click. So like kind of like a Blake Bloomer type of thing.
Right.
But by the time I graduated, I'll be honest, I had no idea what I still wanted to do.
Mm,
I think it's a very like vague question that schools will ask you like when you come in, like you're literally 7 or 18, sometimes 17, going to college, and like, hey, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? Like I have no idea, and they're like, well, you need to start planning. So I figured just get a degree first and figure it out along the way. And then one of my good buddies, I mean, he said it best. By the time I was graduating, he's like, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I really have no idea." He's like, "That's BS because you had 4 years to think about it." I said, "It's a good point."
yeah.
So
Right.
I kind of hopped around different industries, but
Gotcha.
my biggest passion for stocks started like during COVID because that's like I feel like it became a trend, but I pretty much stuck it out.
Right.
I've been investing since I was 16. Like I had a brokerage account, so
Oh wow.
I've been like fairly in the market since then. Like
Okay.
my parents had me, go to like one of those money managers like at Chase Bank, and like every quarter, it's like, hey, I want you to sit down with this guy.
Right.
Explain to my son like exactly like what a quarterly statement is, exactly what you guys are doing with the fund, anything you did differently. And I was just sitting there like in left field, like I don't know what you're talking about, but I
Right.
see it making money, so I guess that's pretty cool. But during COVID, I guess
Mm,
like we saw a huge explosion of just companies IPOing and this and that. And I thought, I don't know if I want to invest in like a bunch of new companies because
right.
it looked like a basically like a repeat of like the 2000 .com crash. We
Mm,
had like a couple
okay.
of thousand companies IPO, and then all of a sudden like half of them tanked and went out of business. But
Hmm.
going back to school, when I graduated, I had an internship, and it was with some federally funded organization that helps small businesses with loans. Like the
Got
type
it.
of thing where like if you don't want to go to a bank because they won't approve you, you go to like this. It's called the it's called SBA, like Small Business Association, and it's federally funded. And we saw our numbers like literally like increase like 2 to 3 fold because during COVID, a lot of small businesses needed our support. So I was like, cool, this is amazing. I didn't consult or deal with any of the finances, but I was like, I guess like logistics and like administrative, if that makes sense.
Got you.
And then from
You
there,
were turning throughout college there.
oh yeah, sorry, that was beginning of 2020 up until like maybe June. So like maybe I say 4 months or so.
Mm.
So it kept me on until after I graduated. And then after that, I'm thinking like, how do you find a job? Because during COVID, everything was like locked down. They had a bunch of like sales positions open across the like the whole entire United States, but I
Right.
was like, oh, I would never go in sales. So eventually, that following year, 2021, I found myself joining the mortgage industry, and then that
Okay.
was on contract. And you're familiar with the area, I'm assuming. So I would drive from, San Gabriel to
Mm.
Westlake every single day,
Oh
and
wow.
it was a grind. I get there at 7 a.m. and then I basically after work, I see that you're also like really into fitness, so I'd like basically working out every day in Thousand Oaks area at like the Gold
Okay.
Gym. And then I drive back. I get home at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and I'd be up in the morning at like 5 a.m. And I was only there for about 4 or 5 months. And
Mm.
what a lot of these companies do is that they take optimistic, high school or sorry, college grads, and they say, hey, like, put you in this job, you work like 500 hours here, and
Hmm.
we can possibly put you on full time. And then after about 500 hours, like that limit, I swear God, it was like the following day after I calculate all the hours, I said, yeah, I hit my limit. They're like, hey, we're cutting your contract.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
the way that they did that, I wasn't obviously, irritated at them. It takes a lot for me to get like irritated, but I was
Right.
more of confused because I was driving home and
Okay.
the recruiting company that works with this private mortgage company,
Got you.
they told them, so they called me when I was halfway home. I said, you realize all my stuff is still at work. So
Right.
she's like, oh, well, we'll figure out a way to get it to you, but don't go back to work on Monday. So that
Wow.
week,
Is this right at COVID, like when COVID starts, the March time frame,
oh,
or
sorry, that was around June of 2021. So it was still
oh,
like fairly like in the middle of COVID.
year and a half ago?
And it's
Okay.
like, wow, like you still had to like wear a mask inside the buildings and stuff. So I was pretty like blown away by that. I said, wow, like who like orchestrates, these
Mhm.
types of like actions, like call a guy who's on a contract when he's halfway home driving that his contract is cut because the company won't tell you in person because I'm assuming in the past they might have feared like retaliation or like an outburst, like distressed emotion or whatever. So they
Wow,
call you when you're already like out of the building. And
that's
they,
tough.
yeah. And I was like, oh, that sucks. And then my parents were like pretty irritated about that just from like how they orchestrated that. So Monday morning, actually that weekend, I reached out to a buddy of mine who worked at a competitor,
Mhm.
industry in the same industry. And
Okay.
he's like, yeah, I spoke to my manager and he's like, you heard what happened? I told him. He's like, yeah, my manager wants to interview you on Monday because they're like, we'll try to pick you right up. I said, I appreciate it. So Monday
Mm.
morning, I went in fully dressed. I had one of my buddies, let me in the building, which, not supposed to, but walked in, I got my stuff, and then all the execs are looking at me like, well, what are you doing here? And I said, oh, I just came to get my stuff. And they're like, why all dressed up? I said, oh, I have an interview at, X company or whatever. They're like, oh, I said, yeah, hey, thanks for the memory. Appreciate it. Take care. You gotta be professional about it. And then
Right.
I went to the interview, and then I was like halfway through my interview with this other competitor. I'm
Right.
thinking to myself,
Same day.
mortgage is great when it's great, rates are low, but I'm like, but if rates don't become better, like if they continue to go up in the next year or so, how's it going to affect like my position or the company, right?
Mm.
So it might just be the same thing to where until then it's just a paycheck.
Right.
So at the end, the manager basically was like, "Hey, like, we wanna offer you something." And I said, "You know what? I appreciate it, but I just realized like I don't think this is for me, and I don't know if I actually want to drive out here anymore and make that
Right.
drive due to
You're
the."
going all the way to Westlake still.
Yeah, basically
That company
Westlake.
is close by to that area, huh? The new
Yeah,
one.
yeah, exactly. It was extremely close. And I was like, yeah, I don't really know if I want to do this. And he's like, oh, well, we do have options to work from home. I said, I can't work from home. I got to be in the office. It makes me social. It makes me just 10 times harder. And, you're grinded and focused. And plus,
Right.
you get the complimentary coffee, which is great. So
Okay.
I said, I appreciate it, but it's just not for me. And that's when I went in kind of like a limbo phase for about that was June
Mhm.
until November. I was in a limbo phase where I was just like, I guess I'll just like try to trade stocks. And
Mm.
I'll be honest, since then, since I stopped like really digging down on like the statistical analysis and all that stuff, like you're probably aware of, of like the Bollinger Bands, the VWAP resistance, all that stuff you use when you read charts. I completely forgot all of that since then. But when I was doing that, I was trading stock options and I was going fairly heavy and it was going great. But then I realized like, you know what? The losses are here, the wins are here, but I don't know if I want to do this. Like it's better for me personally to like be in the office and to get like, firsthand experience and to find like a lucrative industry. So
Mm.
I eventually found the freight industry, big trucking and freight. Um,
Okay.
it was like, logistics and everything in sales. And I knew nothing about the company, but the one thing that sold me was that the more family friends that I was talking to about this, they're like, oh, we've heard of your company. and a lot of family friends actually like knew the original owner before he passed away because we
Mhm.
own about 30, we have about 37 branches across the United States, and we're a nationally recognized freight broker. And I
Okay.
was like, yeah, I guess I'll stick with this, you know. So that was November of 2021, and I guess this November will be 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so you're in the freight industry now. You guys
Yes.
are
Yeah.
brokers. So
And that's
basically
right in La Cañada.
La Cañada. Okay.
Yeah, so around the 210, right there. It's a
Uh,
15-minute drive.
right. And you live around that area? You live near like Pasadena or
Oh, I live right in San Gabriel.
oh you still in San Gabriel?
Yeah. You know where
Okay.
the I want to say where the trying to think of like a good landmark.
Yeah, I
Uh
got an easy one where
like
I live.
like Jefferson, like middle school.
Oh right.
I live within
Near
like a
where that
5 mile radius of that.
okay. Jefferson Middle School. That's Muscatel?
Um,
Muscatel Road or
Muscatel, Jefferson is on.
Broadway touches it?
I don't know if it's not Las Tunas, right?
Yeah, it's on Las Tunas. There's a taco truck that stands on that.
Yeah, I think that's the one. There's like that car dealership on San Gabriel, and I think it was Las Tunas,
Mm,
like the gas station right there. Like that big old car dealership that like I don't know if you probably remember they used to have that airsoft store, e-bike,
mm,
like right there in that general area.
uh,
Yeah,
got you.
it was years ago. But yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride to be honest. Like COVID just threw everything in limbo. But
Right.
I wanna, you know, talk more about you. I don't wanna talk just about
Right.
me. So
No,
you
no, no.
said you got into like more of like the finance side. Like what inspired you to basically get into that?
So my interests really began. My interest. So after COVID, obviously we get into the market and you suffer losses. You're like, hey man, I gotta figure this shit out. Like, there's no way. Like I'm smart enough. We all have the same thoughts too. Like I should be doing better at this. And then my real passion was trading. I used to pray. You won't believe it, but I used to pray before college like ended. I was like, hey God, like give me a passion that I can go forward to, and something that I'm gonna like devote my energy towards. And I mean, I'm not saying that this all happened because but I found like the best out of it for me was, hey, this is something I'm interested in. It's something that I can do on my own. I don't really need a teammate. I like those sports where you're just working on yourself, and that's what it brought to me. I got into finance, so after college, I started applying. It took me about 6 months. I kept applying to companies. I wanted to be a financial representative. That's the beginning position everybody has. So I was applying to Fidelity here in Pasadena. Uh, Edward Jones. You probably heard of them. Northwestern Mutual. I did interviews with them. They were in downtown with one of those high-rise buildings, and so I did interviews with them. Finally, I got a call from Fidelity in, I would say, November of 2021, and I was driving with my buddy. We were coming down from Azusa Canyon. Still remember it, and it was Fidelity near where you worked in Culver City. So I was like, man, that's tough. That's like a 2 hour drive every day almost. I don't know if I'm, like you said, you're gonna have to get home at 10 p.m., go to work, wake up at probably 5, had to be out of, and I really wanted to trade stocks. Like that was a non-negotiable for me. Like I am not giving this side of, this is what keeps me going. What I look forward to every day. And at the same time, I did an interview with this company that I'm currently with, Equanimity Financial in Pasadena, and they basically gave me, they were like, hey, we'll do the interview, like we'll wait. Uh, but right after I got off this Fidelity call, I, called my current manager now. I was like, hey, I got this offer. Like, you guys, if you don't have any, decision for me, I'm probably going to take it, which was a bluff at the end of the day. But they were like, okay, we'll send you the offer letter, or you can come in tomorrow and sign it. And yeah, Monday, I believe it was December 5th, I went in there and then signed, and literally it's 20 minutes from here. Um, it's where the 210 goes to the 5 right here in Pasadena, like where the 5 connects go to Sacramento if you're trying to go.
Yeah. Okay.
Right there, literally on Corson Street. So I've been working there since it's going to be 2 years in January.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And now I'm thinking, hey, like, do I really want to stay? It's only a small group of us. It's literally 4 people. I have an advisor, we have a manager, me, and our assistant. And they're all awesome people, but probably the time for me to go. But again, still a non-negotiable for me was, hey, I want to be able to trade. I want to be able to trade. So I last year I told them I was like, hey, I don't think I can do this longer. Like I'm gonna look for another job because I really can't come in at the same time. So I go in half an hour late than I normally would at a job because they were nice enough. They're like, we want to keep you still. You can come in later and leave later if you want to. So I go into work around 8:30. So it's really the trading is what gets me going, and that's what kind of keeps me away from a lot of things. That's my only thing that I really enjoy, you could say, that I like doing. But and by the beginning of 2022, um, I started seeing results. Like even in equities, I wasn't, having huge losses or anything like that. I saw like consistent, making $100 maybe a month or $200, but you're trying to build up a process of these habits. And for the past, this year has been not bad, and I just want to, keep going forward with it. I think there's a real shot here as long as you develop your mindset going forward. There's good opportunities in trading for me, and that's what really keeps me. If I want to stay here at the current position, because they're like, if you want to come in even later, we're fine with that. Uh, we would like to keep you, but so that's a decision I'm thinking about right now. I'm contemplating: do I go work somewhere else? I'm thinking of going back to working for my college. I used to work at Cal State LA as well as a student assistant in math, as a tutor, you could say. So I don't know. Numbers were always there in my life. I think it's just I like this battle. I enjoy the battle of it's you versus you. Yeah, that's what really gets me going in finance and trading.
That's
Not to
awesome.
say I haven't had losses. I mean, I post my losses too. I'm pretty transparent. That's another thing that inspires me. Like a lot of people in this industry will give you the winners always. Like, hey, I'm up this much. I'm up blah blah blah. But people on the outside don't see the losses, which are part of the game, man. You're gonna have sometimes big losses, and it's how you handle it. And most people don't show you that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've actually caught a few people like on running like new Instagram pages where they want you to like join their Discord so they give you like, the price alerts and stuff and
Mhm.
or the buy alerts. And I actually found out like from buddies of mine, they're like, yeah, these guys like edited the photos. That's not real. I think those are not real gains. So you see like and a lot of times and how I caught one guy was you go on Robinhood and you buy a debit spread.
Uh-huh.
Way it's Robinhood makes a mistake when it shows you like how much you made in a way because a debit spread is like you're capped out how much profit you can make in a sense. I forgot how to do one, but basically it has like a plus and a minus of like the total equity of the contract. So if you buy like 5 contracts, 500 shares of that
Mhm.
stock, it's like 500 shares of that stock. So if it was like Amazon when it was trading at like $2,000 a share,
Right.
however much. So it might be into like the six figures. And people would literally just screenshot like the plus factor on it on a debit spread, and it say like plus 160 grand. But then on below it, it says minus 160 grand. It doesn't mean you're plus or minus.
Ah.
You'd be able to make like $500 to $700 total on that contract. It's just a like a glitch that Robinhood has. So
Uh-huh.
I found that out and I was like, oh, so they're just taking screenshots of debits, it's debit spreads. Like this guy's not obviously up 160 grand. And then I told the guy and he obviously blocked me and I was like, yep, okay, that explains everything. But it's I see a lot of your posts, like the wins and the losses. It's honestly it's very humbling because I've taken my losses as well. Everyone
Right.
has to at some point. But what's most important is knowing that you're going through this process of learning like what works best for you, and you're
Mhm.
competing basically against yourself. At the
It
end,
is.
you can't blame anyone but yourself. Like, okay, the market is what it is. I'm at the mercy of the market. If I predicted somewhat well, I can win. If not, maybe we'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Uh, so you're working like obviously a full-time role now, in the financial sector. Would you ever consider moving to like an actual like firm or an analyst role?
I've thought of analyst role with Fidelity. I've reached out to them again, actually, but for that, I would need a higher license. So there's this SIE license in finance, the basic bare minimum that you have to complete in order to get any kind of job. And then there's a Series 7, and that's, you can call it like the base. And after that, it keeps going up. The last one is like Chartered Financial Advisor. That's the last one. But for the higher roles in my position, or if I want to work somewhere else, I would need a higher license. But my main focus still, I've thought about going forward in my industry, but it's not something I want to do long term. I don't want to advise people, hey, I could, put your money here. Like, let me be your financial advisor. That's not what I want to do. I just don't enjoy it. I don't, it's not like I don't want to talk to people. It's like, just give me your money, kind of. Maybe a fund manager would be great down the line. Give me your money and like shut the door behind you and see your account statements is basically what my plan is. Not being an advisor. Mm-mm.
I could agree with that because I'm the type of guy where it's like just leave the door closed, let me do my thing, and like I'll let you know type of thing.
Right.
Yeah, like you're gonna come back, you're gonna see, a positive. Like look at the P&L, you're in the green. If you have any
Mhm.
questions, let me know, type of thing. But it's like you're always just trying to stay busy, stay productive, and work. Because it's kind of like you're battling out with the market. You're trying to figure out like, okay, what's the next big move, this and that. So it's actually great that you realize that, and we're both still fairly young to where we can like hop around in different industries.
Right.
But to actually like know that like maybe I want to hop around to a different role, what I'm taking from, that is that like how valuable you are, your skill set, where you can go because you have options. And a
Mhm.
lot of people nowadays, I don't believe they credit themselves enough with their, how valuable they are and how valuable their skill sets are. And they think like, I'll just sit at this job and just, do my thing quietly, go home and be quiet about things. Like you seem like the type of guy who's a real go-getter. I feel like you have a lot of potential.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I appreciate that, and definitely you as well. I look at myself that way too. Uh, Ever since I was like, why can't I do it? I see people on TV. It's like, why can't I be? Why can't that be me? And it's just, you gotta put your every day. You gotta just try to do. It's like you gotta break this whole big goal where you want to be. You have a vision. Just break it down. Like, where do you need to be by the end of this year so you're closer to that goal? And you break that down even to 6 months. You can break that down to a month, and then every day kind of thing. It's like, every day I gotta read. I gotta at least listen to something. I gotta track my trades. I gotta do, you know, a bunch of things after the close of the market, and hopefully that's giving you results and that keeps you going. And in my case, it certainly is. Keeps you going because you want to see progress. Uh, but yeah, just incremental steps every day. You're like chipping away every day, just trying to get better is the goal. And obviously, I see you. Um, it's not a lot of people that want to put themselves out there like you've done, even on YouTube. I had a YouTube channel too. I just started posting back in 2012, but I kind of stopped. But putting yourself out there, just trying it, and Either you find out if you like it or not. And I see you post about your, Robinhood account, your investments, like your, what you are, thinking, and it's great. You gotta give it a shot. I think the world is, you get what you want in life. I honestly believe that. Like deep down, if that's what they say that about the market, it's like you get what you want out of the market, whether good or bad. Ed Dakota, he's the one that said that. But it's true. It's true in life. Whatever you put your mind to it, you will get it. That's how your mind will see it.
That's a
Like,
good point. Yeah, especially if you like manifest it and you put in, the amount of work, I would assume that at some point in time it's just going to start to stick together.
right.
Talking about, valuable skill sets, you're just yourself being valuable in general, where you want to go. So if I had to ask you, and I don't want to like put you on the spot if you don't want to answer, but your outlook 6 months to a year, where do you see yourself then?
6 months from now, most likely at a different job. I think so. And yeah, doing better at trading. Uh, Probably earning more through trading than working. That is my 6 month goal. Would have probably read around. I try to read one book every week, whether that's on repeat. Uh, I've read or listened to dozens of books again and again, or dozens of times, I should say. So yeah, I probably would have read books by 25 times by then every week. I try to divide the goals by something that's achievable that I can go after every day. Yeah, in terms of health as well, that's a big priority in my life. I'll probably be able to see a six pack.
It's respectable.
Yeah.
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 I'll be honest, I've been seeing like a huge trend nowadays, like with the health. And I mean, I think health is obviously a priority, but I noticed it mostly when I stopped using like cooking spray. I was like, I started using just grass-fed like Irish butter, not too much, but just enough so like nothing sticks. And I started just feeling a lot better. I realized like a lot of the seed oils, it's just not good for you.
Yeah, I know you posted something like that, like, Exxon seed oil and yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I realize like how much it actually affects you and how many like, extra calories it is that your body just does not need. And it's kind of hard to process. But even like coconut oil, it's very good for you. But I never like actually took a moment to look at the nutrition. I realized it's super high in saturated fat and it can raise your bad cholesterol because I was just eating like a tablespoon of it. Like I just love it. It's delicious. So I was like, oh man, I can't be doing that every day. That's a lot. So now I only eat it like once a week, but I'll eat like a tablespoon once a week.
Mhm.
So I had
Got
to
it.
cut down on that.
Yeah, coconut oil is it's useful. We actually use, I mean, in India growing up, coconut oil we use it so much, especially for your hair.
Mhm. For the
Uh,
beard.
yeah, for the beard, it makes it really shiny. And in the south of India, they use it a lot more because that's where it grows really. They use it in their cooking. They use it instead of oils and ghee and butter. So
That's cool.
oil is good. It's good for your. If you squish it, actually, it's good for your teeth too. Your gum health. If
Mm.
you do it, what is it? Oil pulling they call it.
Yeah, yeah, oil pulling.
Yeah.
I don't know what that does exactly, but someone at work told me about that. Like you swish olive or coconut oil. And I was like, where did you read this from? And like, no, look it up. And I was like, oh, it's actually a thing.
Second one is considered to be better for it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm like, it's amazing what you could do with a lot of this stuff. Like even my parents were at CVS like maybe 6 months ago
Mm.
and they were looking, at the pharmacy, whatever. And my dad was looking at that Prevagen stuff, like that stuff for brain health.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like it's a scam, but he's like, you ever wonder like what's actually like in the ingredient list? So he's looking at it. First ingredient was coconut oil.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, that explains a lot. But I feel like your brain is like your brain, your heart are like a priority, and then obviously everything else follows. And that's like why I take, a variety of supplements. But I mean, for the most part, I don't take things that I know are going to be, detrimental to my health long term. Like I used to drink like those Bang energy drinks in college,
Yeah.
but I never touched Monster, Red Bull, or anything else. It was just like Bang energy drink.
Mm.
And then I used to take pre-workout as well.
Oh, got you.
but I haven't touched any of that for about 4 years now. I just went completely cold turkey, and I realized the body just feels so much better, and it creates a lot of anxiety too because body's not, I believe, designed to hold that amount of caffeine. So now it's just black coffee. What was
All,
that?
especially a punch of it all of a sudden, you're like,
Oh yeah, like I just dry scoop it, like you see the guys in like the videos, and just go to work. But it's kind of like at a certain point, I'm thinking to myself, like, am I paying for motivation to go to the gym? Because you take it, and then now like the clock is ticking, the pre-workout's kicking in.
right,
So now I work out. I don't work out with headphones on. I like to be fully aware of my surrounding area, especially with all the craziness going on. I don't want to be a sitting duck. And then I just drink black coffee, but I only drink about 2 cups a day, nice strong black coffee.
mm,
Um, and even people at work now, I mean, they're asking like what supplements I take, and they think like they look at it and go, "Oh, are those drugs?" I'm like, no, no, they're good for you. Like vitamin D, vitamin C, fish oil. I take that every day, and then some type of grape seed extract that has antioxidants,
mhm,
which gets rid of like free radicals from your bloodstream, helps with heart health, brain health, anti-inflammatory.
mm,
One you may know, turmeric, very popular in India,
very,
used in, like everything.
mm,
And funny enough is one of the ladies I work with, she's like, oh, we use that all the time to cook. I think she's I believe Indian as well.
oh,
And I was researching it because my parents have been taking it for about 20 years now before it became like a craze. And I was actually seeing that that's why Indian population, I was looking at statistics, they have some of the lowest percentage of stomach cancer because of all the heavy spices like the cayenne, paprika, turmeric, because those are all like anti-cancerous, spices, extremely healthy, like basically like the power foods that you need in your diet. So
yeah. I tell people, I was like, I don't even think turmeric works on us anymore
yeah,
because we eat it every day.
I know. Well, you guys eat a lot more than I do. I mean, I take like the capsules, but I used to basically just like I used to try to like eat the roots, just buy the roots and just eat it. And when it's dry, it's like it's chalky, so it's really hard to consume. But I think I've seen like a noticeable difference with like anti-inflammatory. I think that's all I take. I forget. Oh, green tea, and then I don't know. Oh, bee pollen, that type of thing. So a
Yeah.
couple different things.
In terms of supplements, for me, I don't. I mean, I think I'm grateful to be born in a culture that has a lot of these, like you mentioned, turmeric, a lot of these roots, and because Indian cooking is primarily based off of vegetables and using spices to enhance their flavor. Uh, and yeah, I think we get a lot of that through uh, just eating, raw foods that we consume on a daily basis. Other than that, I take like protein, like plant protein. This is pea protein, like the
Mm.
chickpea protein. Doesn't taste all that good, but that's what I say. If it don't taste good, it's probably good for you.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I take, and yeah, I mean, no real, nothing with the skin. Everything is good. Uh, I haven't really, thought about it like, oh, should I be taking this kind of supplement? Should I take I don't think I think the body is it's good to prevent it for future. You think about it like, hey, am I gonna last? Like this, these are the problems people are having at an older age. But I think your body, you if you listen to it, it tells you where you're lacking, and you could just eat. Like I eat when my body tells me like, hey, I'm hungry. Like I don't like, oh, I gotta eat now. Like this has to be. You just listening to your body is very powerful. Yeah, no other supplements really. I haven't really branched into that side yet.
That's good. That's good though. I feel like like a decent amount when it comes to like, health and fitness because you do seem like a very active person. Especially like when it comes to working out and stuff. Like, I mean, I can't jump as high vertically as you can, but I'm only like 5'7".
Yeah,
How
yeah.
about
No,
you?
I think my height helps me a lot.
Oh yeah,
Like getting
definitely.
there at least. I mean, it's a cheat code. Uh, but in terms of, I always wanted to dunk. I try to associate a goal with what I want to do. Like if I want to get better in shape, right? My goal was, hey, I want to be able to dunk. In order for me to dunk, I gotta lose fat. Like I can't. Fat don't fly. It's a saying in basketball. So yeah, you see yourself now. The goal is to dunk with both hands. And also, if you can see the six pack, that's another goal to look better. And it's honestly, Joe, it's you set yourself apart. I mean, you talking about in terms of dating, in terms of people that you can attract. It's just better. Like 33% of the people, or probably 60% of the people now, are fat, like overweight. It's just slowly you're just setting yourself apart. It's just giving yourself leverage, you could say. So
Yeah,
something you can do every day to make yourself a little better. If people want fit people around them, who wants to be like, yeah, I'll pick you. It's just a little, that's not true. I mean, they could say that all they want, but psychologically, you're gonna pick somebody that's fitter, that's in good shape, just anything. I mean,
it's a good point. I mean, I remember in like my freshman year of college, when I was like really into fitness, and that's like all I was posting online. A lot of girls who like lived on my floor, like, oh my God, can you like be my personal trainer? And I was like, but you can't like rely on me, like for motivation. Like you have to tap into your own motivation
mhm.
because basically they wouldn't ever go to the gym unless like I would tag along with them. And I was
Right.
like, well, you have to like find your motivation. Like sometimes I'd work like cardio out in the morning and then
Mhm.
I just consume food all day and all the good stuff. And then in the evening, I'd hit like a muscle group.
Right.
It's just like constant workout. Like I'd have like the best splits. Like
Mhm.
it was down to a science. But then a lot of the people, I knew on my floor, they were like, I just haven't worked out in like 2 weeks. I don't know what to do. I see a lot of people I realize don't really know where to start, and I can't really blame them because I didn't know where to start. When I first got into fitness, probably like really got into fitness senior year of high school, I was hitting like every muscle group every day. Like I didn't know, it was just like oh legs or oh bench press, and like oh back, because you see everyone else doing it. And what I realized is like you can't hit every muscle group every day because you have to rest, muscles. Because I remember I was like taking a shower and because I never stretched, which is a reason why I stretch every single day now, like hard stretch. I was in the shower, I was washing my foot, my lower back gave out and I fell in the shower. So that was pretty sucky. Luckily, that was during Christmas break, and if you know the CSU system, we get like a month off. So I was like, thank God. So I was actually bedridden for about a week and a half.
Yeah.
And doctor wanted to prescribe me like, over the counters and everything. And I was taking turmeric as an anti-inflammatory, but I was like, it's not gonna be strong enough, But I said no to like, the over the counters now because they're very addictive. And I just fought through the pain. And then even to this day, 7, plus years later, I still feel a little slight tightness just in the lower left portion of my back, like that little triangle portion of your back,
Uh-huh.
left side, but I've increased my flexibility by at least like 50 to 70%. Where like before I was about, 8 to 10 inches away from touching my toes. Now I can like pretty much touch my toes. I'm trying to work on my splits and my mobility. I do have a little bit of residual from like lifting heavy in college. I used to do a lot of like squats,
Right.
like 3 plate squats and everything. So the meniscus, ACL, all that, I'm starting to feel the residual. I don't hit squats anymore. It's been about 4 years. But it's just like leg press for like strength, you
Yeah.
know, do like 20 reps on like 100 pounds. And I'm like, I used to warm up with like 200 pounds and I used to go up to like 400. I'm like, I can't do that anymore. Like the body's like, no, this isn't going to happen. Like you need to calm down. But
kind of kind of
yeah, it's
story.
wild.
I was doing squats, and figure I'm taller than most people, and I don't think squats are really helpful. You have a huge chance of snapping something if you're doing squats if you're taller.
Hmm.
I've always done leg press, like sit me down on a machine. I haven't even done the ones that you push up because I feel that puts more strain on my knees.
Yeah.
But just the one that you sit and then you press like this way, that's what I've done. And yeah, like when I feel a little pain in my knees, I'm like, okay, this is where it stops.
Yeah. No,
Go
the
to the next
knees.
side.
Yeah, the knees are sacred, now that I think about it. Like even for one time, like I kept a lot of like little leg strength and like leg mass.
Uh,
And then, like the last 6 or 7 months, I noticed I started getting a lot of pain like around like the side of my knee and then underneath. And I was like, oh man, like going up the steps, it started to hurt. And I only weigh about 165 pounds. At my height, I was bulking, I was like 195. And then I just completely just stopped doing all that. But I realized eating like every 3 hours, like it makes you extremely lethargic. So I'm a big believer. No, I wouldn't say in fasting, but like and going a little bit longer durations of like time without eating. And especially like if you're trying to like trade stocks, I would feel like, if you're like right when you eat, you become like very relaxed, you're trying to digest, you get a little lethargic. And I feel like most awake when, I'm on an empty stomach and I'm plugging water down, staying hydrated, and then I have my coffee. But the moment I eat, I get into like that restful state and I'm like starting to tap out a little bit. But it could also be with the society of our country that, we do eat like larger portions.
Very
Because people look at my portions and like an average breakfast for me is like, 4 to 5 eggs, maybe some toast, fruit, this and that. And people are like, oh, I can't even eat, 2 to 3 eggs. I'm like eating twice as much as everyone else, but I do burn a lot of calories.
yeah, a lot of you've always eaten bigger portions.
Oh yeah. I mean, at my height, when I used to like weigh my food, I was eating well over like a pound and a half of meat a day. And then I'd eat about 2 to 3 cups of rice a day, cup of oatmeal. Like for breakfast, it'd be like 9 to 10 eggs, cup of
Right.
oatmeal. And that was just average. And then now I'm like, I can't eat that because that would probably kill me. But
Mm.
yeah.
I just I don't know. In terms of calories, it's probably like 3,000 a day just to maintain my weight. But I'm getting into the form where it's more shredding, I guess it's called, like where you limit your fat
Mm,
and trying to eliminate fat around your body. So that's what I'm doing. I was never really into too much macros, but I'm watching them now more, and so we'll see the results. I mean, 6 months is when you see them. Yeah, I mean, excited. And like I said, you're just setting yourself apart from everybody else, and you'll get better opportunities. It's just statistically, people want to be around healthier people. It's not
that's
a
a
like a
fact.
no-brainer.
Yeah, that's a fact. I mean, you probably see it a lot if you're around people who are just very unhealthy, they don't take care of themselves. But these are people who might have like a lot of opportunity. Like when I see a guy who's like 6'2", and like maybe he's got like 6'2", blue eyes, I'm like, man,
Right.
if you were like maybe 50 pounds lighter, like you could pull like anything. I'm like, but actually, I'm glad you're like that because you're leaving more for me type of thing.
Exactly. I mean, in terms of like, I look at it that way. Exactly. I think I have a theory where like where you were talking about earlier that hey, a lot of people need motivation. I'm in the point of like, don't help people that need motivation. It's like because they're not really supposed to do it. If you think about it, if you really needed motivation, that's not really for you. Because
True.
something you want to do, you want to get better at, I can't plug that battery inside of you to go get it.
Because you're that crutch for them at that point.
Yeah, it's like either you want it or you don't, and it's frustrating. I mean, for my friends, my family members, we all know family members that obviously need to work out, but you can't help them. I guess you could only be an example. So I have a lot of nieces and nephews, so that is a big motivation for me. Like me keeping myself in check, even in terms of like whatever I eat, whatever I do, they're looking at me, and that's something I want to be a good example. They're going to be good people. That's how we can lead the world is be the example that you want to see, and it should help. It should help everybody. Just worry about what you can control in that terms, and we'll be fine.
That's a fact. I mean, if you're not like, out there trying to inspire other people, I feel like it's kind of hard to like find a purpose, but post college, I would say it's kind of weird because college was pretty easy to make friends. I think so. I mean, you could just literally talk to anybody in class, or if you were dorming or not, you could talk to anybody. You could be like, hey, like let's go grab coffee at like the caf or something like that. And I feel like now it's just there's like sort of like a disconnect. I feel like hate to say it, but I feel like a lot of people I knew from college like just kind of like gave up, especially when COVID winded down
Mm.
at the beginning of this year, like December to like January, February. I noticed a lot of people just went a lot more quiet. And that's when like COVID basically winded down completely. And I just stopped like hearing from like a lot of people and they just like completely just like not doing a whole lot in life.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, like a lot of people are disconnected right now from society and a lot of people just don't go online anymore. It's weird.
I mean, I can relate to that in terms of like, people that I went to. I mean, look at the people who went to high school with. How many are you in touch with now? Like,
Yeah, that's a great question. Like on an active scale, I think you're the only person I've actually spoken to from high school since I graduated from high school.
right.
Like I know a few people from our class who have done like extremely well. Like they're on my Instagram, but like I never talked to them. Even people from college now, I realize like it's that next phase. Like when we left high school, like a lot of people just kind of like, split apart. And then now from college, COVID was like a 3 year extended vacation. And then now from that 3 year extended vacation, everyone's starting to split off again into like their next life. Like in the last year and a half, I've seen a lot of people get married, have kids, settle down. I'm like, this is a lot for me because I'm like, I'm not used to seeing this. Like one of my really good friends who went to college with me freshman year, she's a great person. She dropped out and wanted to like kind of do her own thing, become like I guess like entrepreneur, and she's done fairly well since then. But this is a girl who came in with like 60 units freshman year, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she just said this is too easy. She's like, I'm a month ahead in every class. She was taking 6 classes, 18 units. And then she was taking 2 more classes at community college in her hometown, like online. She's like, I'm a month ahead in every class. I have straight A's. Like, this is just too easy. I'm dropping out. And I was like, okay, it's not for everybody. But she just told me literally on Friday when I was at work, she messaged me a picture and she's pregnant. And I'm like with her husband. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And we're both the same age.
Yeah.
And she relocated from Palmdale to Yuma, Arizona. I guess it's like on the southern border of Arizona. And I'm like, I'm just not used to seeing that type of stuff because like I still think we're fairly young. I'm like,
I
I'm
like
like,
to believe that.
I'm a long ways off from, settling down like that because I'm a believer in like, hey, like I want to get my career started, be some form of financially stable, maturity wise as well. And a lot of those things right now, I'm still working on.
Mhm. No, I second that, and yeah, it's tough. I don't know if you had, but there was a couple of people actually, even with the ones we went to middle school. I had a close friend of mine actually pass away, so that was a big like,
Oh,
oh, like he was a guy from Massachusetts. I mean, but yeah, hearing that news about 3 years ago, it's just even our our school, high school, there was this girl named Jasmine. I don't know if you remember her.
Jasmine.
Jasmine De La Cruz, her name was, and she used to, uh, I mean, like tomboyish.
Yeah, yeah, I remember her. What happened with her? Did something happen?
Passed away 2 years ago, almost a year and a
No
half.
way. I remember like who she was, but I can't put a face to it.
Yeah.
No way. I remember her from middle school, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you guys, she grew up with y'all. I wasn't even here in middle school. I just came in 10th grade. But yeah,
Wow.
just hearing that news, like going the wrong way. It's somebody came on the freeway, I guess, on the wrong side, and they weren't doing the right thing.
Oh,
They
yeah.
got
Okay.
front-ended, and that's how my other friend in Massachusetts passed away too. It was like, man, it's like
Yeah,
it's kind
that's
of hard to accept that you're getting older, but you gotta realize like you are, like it's like you're at a time. I was just thinking, I was like, man, when going back in time, like when my dad was my age, he had a daughter already. Like that's crazy to think about now.
yeah, that was extremely common.
He was 24, 25. He had a child on his hand, and me, I'm like, I can't even imagine that. Even though, like, in terms of their age, you're actually getting older, but man, life is beautiful, but it's also like humbling in that way. Like, yeah, every birthday, I try to set goals for myself. That's like a mile marker for me in terms of, hey, are you really headed where you want to be? And if not, like, let's change. And you got to change. But yeah, I don't know. I'm seeing people. I don't know if you remember this Sarah from our high school, and another guy that I mean they were dating in high school as well. They recently got married. It's
Oh, Sarah Hoffman.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I saw that.
yeah. They got married, and I was like, wow.
Like good for them. Look at that. High school, what was it like high school
Yeah,
sweethearts or
she's
something
in
like that?
college too here. I mean, she went to Cal State LA for a couple of years as well, I think. But it's just funny. I mean, I guess we're looking at it almost like that's not our focus, but for them, it is something important to them. Our time will come too. But yeah, it's very strange. We like to think we're young.
I
We
know, I know. I mean,
I
right
don't
when
want
I
to
left,
accept it, but it is true.
I'm very like non-accepting of it yet, but I realized like in college, I was just having so much fun. Like you're in like the clubs,
Mm,
fraternity, you're like learning how to be like part of like the community, give
right.
back and all that, and then handle all the classes. And then once like all that fun kind of winded down, I realized like it just kind of hit me like a wall. It's like, whoa, like this is real life. Like real life. A lot of people like I've spoken to said it's just not fun. The post adjustment, like adjustment post college because you're not like all like in that general like proximity of like school. We're always like just kind of like in the same class. I
Right.
have friends now who are in Santa Barbara, San Bernardino, San Diego, some who relocated to the East Coast. And it's
Right.
just, I'll be honest, it's kind of boring now because everyone's gone their own way and a lot of them don't keep in contact. They're kind of like off to find their own clique or their own niche. I'm
Right.
like, I respect that, but it's honestly just a reality, and you find yourself what I like to call something I started recently was like nights at the round table. It's like a group of people like in your circle that you can like trust.
Right.
You're all setting like solid goals for yourself to succeed in life. You don't have to all be in the same industry or
Yeah.
go down the same path, but you're all just like you're there for each other. You're honest with each other and you have like a lot of respect for what you guys are aspiring to do. But it's a group of like six people or less, can't be any more than that. And I'm like, I think that's great because a lot of people nowadays are very quick to say, like, oh, I don't want to talk to that person anymore, or they might be too trusting of another person, and then it doesn't end well for them because they might be lied to. So just something, maybe to keep in the back of the mind.
Yeah.
Um,
It
but
was, and I mean, I agree with your point. I mean, I'll be happy, well, we obviously, I know we went to high school together. It was just, keeping in touch, keeping each other inspired. I mean, I've seen your YouTube videos. I mean, it's just friendly competition. I'm like, man, I want to be, I want to do better. Like, this guy's inspiring. Like, he's got it going. I want to keep it going. And it's like a friendly, thing that, keeps me going. Like, you just need a little motivation here and there. But yeah, going back to high school, a lot of people that actually did probably stop talking to me is because of politics as well. So I'm not even gonna,
you and I both, yeah,
yeah,
it's a big
not
thing.
gonna, not address that, but it's true. I mean, most of the people are very, very, very liberal, and ever since I don't, you know, I don't know, fell in love, but I guess when 2016 came, I used to debate people, and I don't know if you remember Trent.
Oh,
Trent
Trent
Hoffman.
Hoffman,
Yeah,
yeah,
we got really close back in senior year, and I haven't really spoken to him since. But James, remember his friend James? He used to race all the time. He's still on.
James Todd, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so James, I'm in touch with him. We exchange messages, once in a while. He'll comment on his stories and stuff. But yeah, I bet through him, James is the only other person really that I know of that's conservative. But other than that, a lot of people kind of went the other way because
yeah.
I don't like Amandeep's ideologies. I mean, I was debating people back in 2016. I remember debating Trent and his girlfriend at the time, Christy. Say Christine or
Oh yeah, yeah. That whole I call it the whole squad, as I call it. Yeah, I
yeah.
was never one to debate, but yeah.
I wasn't debating them like in classes. I would just mention it, and then like Sophia Hussein, her name was,
Oh, all these names are coming back to me now.
and then I was in what was there physics class. I mean, Mr. McClure. I used to always, I was like, yeah, just watch. Trump's gonna win. Like, I
Yeah,
get
it's happening. Yeah,
it's happening, and I liked his personality. How he just, he was very inspiring to me at that point. Like, hey, some guy just can just get up and be like, he's on a mission, he's gonna go after it. Like, I don't really care about like all the shit that he says about like, oh, this is Mexican. At the end of the day, I think we need to be better judges of ourselves too, because we've all done the shit that he's done in public, I guess. And people don't want to admit it. Like, you've been racist before in the past. So should we use that against you and get you fired now?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
I
we've
had
all been there, like,
I,
bro.
I've had people during COVID who, when they found like, my political preference and I was just kind of like, I mean, I knew people who were on the left who were independent on the right, and it was never an issue until the 2016 election. And then all of a sudden people were like, I want to attack you. And then 2020, oh man, that just completely like everyone just went to like a whole storm. Like people were just attacking left and right. And I was like, I'm not going to debate with you guys. Like we've never had an issue, but now it's like, why are you so, hot to attack me for my views? And I've never really like completely voiced it, online because I don't really care to. But I remember people were like trying to find like if you're even following a conservative page, or like we're gonna find you and your employer, we're gonna tell them and get you fired. I'm like, why would you do that though?
Right. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, people, and that's why for the longest time I didn't have a LinkedIn profile like updated because of fear of that. And I realized after all, you know what, good luck, like let's go, type of thing. But now my company can care less. It's like they're like they don't really care about that stuff, so which is cool.
And
But
you
it's
lose
just funny
that.
because
It's motivation. I mean, you use it at like, we kind of have it tougher, I guess. We got to get over this hurdle. Like, these people have allies everywhere. Not these people,
oh,
but
I know. Yeah. It's just like they're part of like their group and it's just kind of like we all find our own cliques. But funny enough, it's kind of like what I realize is like on our end, it's like we're building on ourselves. We're not complaining because while they're complaining, we're building. We're
well,
disciplining ourselves, we're making more money and we're succeeding. And by the time, they're 30, they're gonna look back and like, I've been complaining this whole time for the last 5 years, and these guys have just excelled because they just got to work, you know.
right.
Um,
Ignore that. Like, you gotta ignore the politics, even though you like a certain preference. I mean, at the end of the day, you gotta worry about your family, your community.
exactly. Yeah, I don't really follow politics too much anymore. I still have my strong views, but I'm like, wow, it's just like people really got heated during that time. And I said, it's all you, but like don't press it down my throat, like have some respect. But it's good to know that there's, like-minded individuals out there who are still, speaking up about, the cause and everything, and not just like, man, like there's the majority, and then I'm like, the minority in a sense, like where do I fall into place?
Right.
But that's why whenever I visited like other states, like Arizona or like South Carolina, Virginia, I always feel like I maybe first time visiting, I've always felt like it's a part of like my home in a sense because the people there kind of like I connect with. I'm like, wow, these people have very similar views. I'm like, they don't mess around here. I realize a lot of people here in California like to cry
Yeah.
own
More
people.
respectful there, nicer. I mean,
Yeah, they have values, religious values, conservative values. Even if they don't, I've met a lot of people from other states who are, on the left side of the spectrum or independent. They're still respectful. They're
mhm.
still respectful. And I don't obviously voice my opinions, but they're just like, yeah, they told me like I've met liberals who go, I'm liberal, but you know what, I respect your views, Joe. You're conservative. We may not agree with everything, but at the end of the day, why would that get in between like a relationship of ours? And I'm like, whoa, like we're having a healthy adult, conversation here. It's not like you don't agree with me, not talking to you anymore type of thing. It's like, whoa, 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 yeah,
I mess around, yeah. But yeah, I think it tells us what people that are attracted to that ideology, at least, or you mean our ideology, that I think how we believe the world to be true. Conservative is people that want to get shit done, that want to go on their own, they want to make something out of their life. And versus you have people that perhaps they didn't grow up believing that, or they were never like, in their head, they were like, I can't do it. Then they try to find reasons. Like I say, your brain is an answering machine. It's going to say yes to you for everything you tell it. For everything you tell it, it's going to be like, yep, that's true. So if you're like, hey, I'm a victim, like, I can't see that I'm not this, your brain's gonna be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, hey, have you thought about the other reasons why you're not successful? Here are the other. Look, it's gonna bring up examples of that. Versus if you give me like, hey, I'm successful, like I'm going to be successful even if I'm not. And then your brain's gonna be like, yeah, remember when you won that like competition back in the day? That made you feel successful. And just it's how and all we think. There's not a right or wrong way, but it's there is a way that you are more attracted to, I guess. But it certainly feels more comfortable with me to go, be more conservative. That's how I grew up to. Just values, and because if you don't have values, you're just on the loose. On the end, what's really holding you accountable? It's a lot of accountability too.
It's a good point. Accountability, good values, especially like the way we were raised. Like if we were handed a lot of things in life, we might just grow up blaming other people.
Mhm.
That's it's actually a fabulous point that I feel like a lot of people could learn from. Um, Not to cut you off, but the
I see it. I see it too.
oh, you see it too? Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't
it's
know if it was just
I'm
visible for me.
43, but
Yeah. Is
since
there any last points that you would like to throw out there before we finish off this podcast?
yeah, no, I mean, I'm grateful. We've never really spoken in high school, but this is something building a connection going forward. Obviously, we'll be in touch, and you know, it'd be cool to meet you out. I like playing golf and stuff. We could go to a shooting range, driving range. Uh, that'd be cool. Look forward to that, and just I think we got similar mindsets, and that will help us going forward in the future. Not to like piggyback on each other, but it's just like you said, it's rare to find like-minded people that want
That's
to
a
do
good
better for
point.
themselves.
Yep, a lot of hard to find a lot of quality people now with quality values and that type of mindset. But Ahmad, I do appreciate your time, and it's great that we have similar values and we can share this, and we should definitely we'll definitely catch up again.
Yep.
Maybe try to meet up someday and go from there.
Yep.
And just
Exactly.
again, I appreciate your time and your patience.
No, 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 not a problem, man.
Yeah,
We'll check in. It'll be cool to see this, in the future, where we come, how far we come.
that's right. We just gotta look back and just appreciate what we have.
Exactly. That'll
All
be
right,
all.
sir. Well, I appreciate your time again.
Yeah.
It's the end
Yep.
of our podcast. Thank you for your time and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
I will. You too, Joe. Have a good one.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Yep.